Hello everybody and welcome back to Slow Your Roll. I'm Alex and today we're going over character creation again. I know we've hit on it a couple of times before, but with every iteration of the beta, we should probably do our due diligence. And since the defenses have changed, so has character creation. But let's get that big dumb head out of the way and get to explaining. Because today, I want to do the easiest character creation guide that you're ever gonna have. First things first, please go to page 92 to check out the 10-step character creation outline. We're gonna go through most of these steps in order, but the first thing that I usually do to set myself up for success is go to an Ancestry page and go to the classes page. Please figure out what class or ancestry you're gonna be playing. We're gonna go to page 103 to start picking an ancestry. It really helps if you do the ancestry as well as class on page 117 and just pick those out before you go through the 10-step character creation guide, because it's so much more beneficial to know what you're building towards, and for some reason the character creation guide puts those right at the end. But now that we got that preamble out of the way, we're going to be hitting step number 1, attributes and prime modifier. There's 3 different ways that you can set that up, but I really prefer point buy. All 4 of your stats, might, agility, charisma, and intelligence, start at -2. You have 12 points to increase those attributes up to 3. And speaking of 3, your prime is also 3 as well. It's just the same as whatever your highest attribute is. But hey, once you've got those attributes set up and your points locked in, now we talk about save masteries. Because whatever a save is, like let's say I'm calling for an intelligence save or a might save. And let's just say that my might's 3. So if I was calling for a might save, it would be 3 plus my combat mastery, which is just 1 at level 1. So I'd be asking you to roll a might save of 4. And that's how save mastery works. And it's truthfully a step that might not need to be in the character creation guide anymore. But let's move on to step number 3, because background, skills, traits, and languages. Backgrounds are not currently within the game, those are coming soon, but those will help us pick our skills, traits, and languages. But for now, we just get to pick whatever we want. So if we're talking about skills, there's a bunch of different skills like athletics, intimidations, acrobatics, trickery, stealth, and so on. And they're all separated by different might, agility, charisma, intelligence, and prime types of attributes. That's the attribute that is based off of this skill. And if you'd like a better description of what the attributes are, you can check out page 9 to give you a full description of might, agility, charisma, and intelligence. But when it comes to the skills, they're also gonna give you a pretty concrete description of what that skill is gonna be able to do for you. For instance, athletics. It would give you bonuses for things like climbing, swimming, jumping, and grappling. All of the different things that you might assume would be connected to the might attribute or athletics, the skill. But go ahead and pick your skills because we have 5 skill points and you also get extra skill points depending on how much intelligence you have, or you also have less skill points if you happen to have a negative intelligence. This is your warning now. If you really wanted a bunch of skills, you have to be a smarty pants. But once you've got your skills all picked out, we're gonna move on to trades. And there's so many different trades that you could have. Not only that, you could even make up your own trades. Just talk to your DM about it and make sure it makes sense with the setting. But there are a bunch of different trades like alchemy, arcana, blacksmithing, brewing, carpentry, and so on. Now, each one of these trades are tied to a trade attribute. And whatever that attribute is gets added to your trade check. So if you already had +3 in intelligence, you might want to pick an intelligence-based trade, which would give you just a much better bonus when rolling for it. Likewise for charisma, intelligence, and might. But in all reality, these are kind of like flavor features too. So this is kind of like your preference. Is your guy a gambler? Even if he's not good at charisma or intelligence, you should still pick gaming because it works with the story so well. I know what I just said might sound like blasphemy to the min-maxers, but hey, if it makes sense for your backstory, I would totally do it. But now that you've chosen 3 trades from the 3 trade points that you were given, we're gonna be moving on to languages. And there's a bunch of different languages in the game, and you can also add your own, just make sure you talk to your DM. For languages, you are already fluent in Common, so you don't have to spend any points there, but you do have 2 other language points, for which you could be partially fluent in 2 of these languages or entirely fluent in one of them. Also, if you did want more languages, you can take 1 trade point and turn it into 2 language points. And I forgot to mention it in my point just before that, but you can also do that with skill points too. If you wanted to take 1 skill point and turn it into 2 trade points, you totally can. And now that you have 2 trade points from 1 skill point, you could turn that 2 trade points into 4 language points. That's more or less the tier that they will go, but you could end up speaking pretty much every language right off the bat if you really wanted to. Next up, we're going to be talking about health points, and this is the reason why I said go pick a class first, and sometimes even Ancestry HP will apply here. So it's good to have both of those things locked in. But your class formula is your class HP, and I'm just going to scroll down to the Barbarian class table to give an example. The health points for the Barbarian is 9, so our class HP is 9, plus Might, plus Ancestry HP if any. Most of the time you're not going to get Ancestry HP unless you're specifically building towards that with like Orc, Giant, or Beastborn. But now that we have our health locked in, we're going to look at stamina and mana points. These are kind of concrete. You're going to get 6 mana points if you're a spellcaster, 1 stamina point if you're a martial, and if you're a combination of both, like the Spellblade, you'll get 1 stamina point and 3 mana points. There are a couple of things that could add maybe more mana points while you're creating a character, but it's not very often that you're going to see more stamina points literally at all, not at first level. But now that we're done talking about stamina and mana, let's talk about defense, because this is actually where the character creation guide changed a little bit from last time. Your precision defense is 8 plus combat mastery plus agility plus intelligence plus bonuses. And the plus bonuses is what the armor you are wearing is. Now, we're gonna have to talk about armor because almost all of the classes are going to be wearing some, and you get to build your armor as you're building your character when you make a character. Right here for customized armor, when you pick your armor during character creation, you choose it to be light or heavy. Armor can grant it 2 points worth of armor properties available to that armor type. And the armor properties are really just adding a precision defense increase, an area defense increase, or an elemental damage reduction. If you choose elemental damage reduction, that's pretty awesome and flavorful, but it's not really adding to your precision defense or area defense because it takes up all of the armor points. And if you really wanted, you could use 2 of your armor points on precision defense or on area defense if one of those are lacking over the other. But if you just want to have a balanced armor, it'll give 1 to precision defense and 1 to area defense. But with all that being said, here's the formula, and it's going to be kind of specific to your character, whatever your might, charisma, and bonuses might be for area defense, and likewise for precision defense. Damage reduction is mentioned briefly. It doesn't come up often, but this is what elemental damage reduction, the definition is, if you chose elemental damage reduction for your armor. This only applies if you're wearing some type of heavy armor or heavy shields, and elemental damage reduction really just equates to -1 damage from any elemental attack coming your way. Step number 7 is a pretty easy one. It's literally self-explanatory. Just fill out a couple of these things that are left blank on your character sheet currently. There's really only 1 or 2 things that require you to look at your agility or your athletics first. But it's really just fill in the blank for this one. And now that we've gone back to step number 8 and 9, you've already got your ancestry, you've already got your class. But keep in mind when picking an ancestry, you only have 5 ancestry points. If you choose 2 negative ancestry points, then you can have up to 7 positive ancestry points, but only 2 negative ancestry points can be added to your character at a time. Of course, all of that can change just by asking your DM what kind of game you want to play, but with the ancestries out of the way, we're going to talk about classes. This is pretty much your opportunity to say, am I going to be a spelly type of person, or am I going to be a fighty type of person? And there's even one class that does both. And don't worry, you're not pigeonholed into that decision forever, because when we do our level up guide, I'm going to show you the best way to multi-class. But when you get your class, make sure to fill in your class HP, cantrips, spells, and maneuvers known, along with any skill points that might be added to your class. A good example might be like the rogue or hunter that would add some skill points to you. And last but not least, let's go ahead and pick a weapon. Not only are we going to be picking a weapon, but we should probably try to think of what synergizes best for our toolkit so far. If you've already got a couple of effects or spells that make sure that their enemy is dazed, then maybe you should pick a hammer, because hammers deal +1 against creatures that are dazed or petrified. Always try your best to think about synergy that you can do with yourself or some of the players that you know are going to be on the table. And that's going to be it for me, everybody. That's more or less the whole thing, the character creation guide in a nutshell. There are a couple of things that change, but it's still the same beast that we're all accustomed to if you made a character in 0.8 or 0.9. If you have any tips of how this character creation guide could be made better for the official launch of DC20, please leave that in the description below. And if you have any specifics for the next video in this series, leveling up your character to level 2 and 3, then please let me know how you would like me to go about that, because I really value your guys' input, especially for tutorials like these. But until next time, everybody, we'll see you all later.